Episode number 9. You are listening to the More Than a Lawyer podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help lawyers and mums to thrive in their careers and motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversation with awesome women to help you reduce the struggle in your juggle. Hello and welcome to the show. It is great to be here on another episode of the More Than a Lawyer podcast. And today we're going to be talking about rejection. It's not something that many of us like to experience, but it is something that is inevitable in both motherhood and your career as a lawyer. Before we get started, I just wanted to invite you to attend my up-and-coming webinar called How to Have Post-Baby Career Success. It's taking place on Wednesday the 12th of October 2016 at 8 p.m. GMT. So it would be awesome if you would join me. I will be talking about how to have post-baby career success without sacrificing family time, the practical steps you can take right now to prepare for a smooth transition into life as a working mother, and how to leverage your unique skills so that you can work smarter and not harder. If you are looking to be on your A game at work and at home, you need to sign up for this webinar. It's free, so I urge you to go over to bit.ly/career after baby and reserve your spot. Okay, back to today's topic, rejection. Now, over the summer, my husband has had the opportunity to be home more and spend more time with my son, and this has coincided with a busy period for me at work and in my business. So my son has been spending a lot more time with daddy, and he has now become more of a daddy's boy, and he tends to cry when my husband leaves the room or leaves the house, whereas he'll just wave to me when I say I'm leaving. He will just say bye and wave. Or, if he gets upset or he's tired, he tends to go to my husband first. Now, I'm not going to lie, this has not been easy for me to deal with. I found it really, really difficult at first, and so I wanted to share about this topic on today's episode because I think there must be other mums who have experienced the same thing who are experiencing the same thing. And I also think it's important for us to recognize that rejection is inevitable both in motherhood and in our career. So I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to deal with rejection in both of those areas. So back to my son. So it has been particularly tough for me to deal with this rejection because he was very, very attached to me in the first year of his life, especially while we were breastfeeding. He wanted to be close to me all the time. He would not like it if I left the room, and so for him to go from there to a place where he's just like bye mummy, it wasn't easy for me to adjust to initially. And it also seemed to coincide with when I stopped breastfeeding, so it was as though he said, you've stopped giving me milk, okay, well I don't need you anymore. But when I looked into this, as you do as a mum who wants to know whether every stage of their child's going through is normal, I learned that this is quite common in babies, and babies often take a preference over one parent at a particular time or for a particular time frame, and it's usually a preference for the one that is meeting most of their immediate needs at any given time. So the person that feeds them the most or will spend the most time with them is often the one that they will prefer, although sometimes it can go the other way. They might be drawn to the parent that they don't see as much because they miss them, and when they're around they want to spend the most time with them. So as this was really the first time I think I'd experienced rejection in motherhood, I started thinking about other areas of my life where I'd experienced rejection, and quickly came to times in my career where I had experienced rejection. I remember when I was first starting out on my journey to become a lawyer, I experienced so much rejection, so many no's, but I was determined to continue. I kept telling myself that although I'm getting all of these no's, I only need one yes, so I need to keep going. And I was blessed to find a great mentor who was able to look at my application forms and tell me where I had been going wrong. I remember her reviewing one of my application forms and emailing me her feedback. So I opened the covering email, which said in the opening line, "If you are having a bad day, do not open this." And I thought, wow, this is going to be brutal. And to be honest, it was. She had made track change amendments all over the document and pretty much tore it to pieces. She told me that I had such great experience, but that I wasn't selling myself well. I wasn't connecting the dots for the person who was reviewing my application form, hence why I wasn't getting called in for interviews. Her feedback was invaluable. It was exactly what I needed to improve my applications and land a number of interviews with law firms that I was interested in. And years later, I still remember her advice, which I'm sharing with you now. And sometimes I share some of the tips that she gave me with my clients because it was just so valuable. And it was great that she was able to take the time to give me that feedback. And the reality is, all of us will experience rejection on our journey, and we're all going to continue to experience rejections in different forms. So we really have a choice as to how we handle that rejection. We can either allow it to stop us from striving for what it is we want to achieve, or we can look at the rejection, find the lessons in it, and learn from it so that we can move forward regardless. So I always like to get practical with the information that I share. So I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to deal with rejection in motherhood, and also 3 tips on how to deal with rejection in your career. So first up, motherhood. So the number one thing I want to say is don't take it personally. And I know that sounds strange given that you are the only mother that your child has, and therefore if they are rejecting you, it is you that they're rejecting. But what I mean by that is not to take it to heart, especially to the point where it changes your behavior towards your child. Don't draw away from them to protect yourself from future rejection. They still love you. They absolutely love you because you're the only mummy they have, and you are irreplaceable. And they need your love and your affection, even if they're not showing it right now. So I would just say don't draw away, and keep showering them with the kisses and the cuddles, even if they're pushing you away, because they still need them. I've definitely been smothering my son with kisses and cuddles, and yeah, he's going to get them even if he doesn't show me that he wants them. Okay, so number 2 is to look at the positives. So if your child is showing a preference to your spouse at this time, appreciate the fact that your child is really bonding with them and they're building up their relationship with their dad. When your child was a newborn, it's likely that you were the primary caregiver, and your spouse may have experienced some of the same feelings of rejections that you're now experiencing. So now allow them to have their time and just enjoy watching them together, and the fact that they are bonding and they are growing and building a solid foundation for the relationship that they're going to have going forward. Okay, and number 3 is to look for support, because I know that it is easier said than done to be positive about things like this. So it may be beneficial for you to speak to other mums who are going through the same thing, and knowing that you're not the only one is always helpful in every situation. So it may be that you speak to other mums in your local NCT group or mother and baby group, or that you look online for some support and connect with women in the More Than a Lawyer Facebook group or the Lawyer Mums Network on LinkedIn. However you're going to do it, I would say connect with others so that you know that you're not dealing with this on your own. Okay, to recap, so when dealing with the rejection that may be displayed by your child towards you, you are going to avoid taking that rejection to heart. You're going to look at the positives in the situation, and you're also going to look for support amongst other mums. Now, on to career. So number 1 is the same as the number 1 tip for rejection in motherhood, and it is don't take it personally. You have to remember that the person who is hiring is going to hire the person that they perceive will be able to perform the role and hit the ground running with the least amount of support, and the person who is going to be the best fit for their existing team. So just because they say no to you does not mean that you are not capable of performing the role or that you are not good at what you do. It just means that they do not view you as the right person for the role at this time. So as an outsider looking in, you do not know what the team dynamic is like. You do not know what their resources is like in terms of training and support. You do not know what it is the person's looking for in terms of the personality and the connection that they want to have. So all of those things are variables, and none of those things are things you have control over. You can only control what you could bring to the position. So if they say no to you, don't take it as, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to find a role like this, maybe I should switch what I want to do. Just take it as, this role was not the right role for me, and I was not the right candidate for them. Okay, so number 2 is know that rejection is inevitable. To be a successful lawyer and mother, you need to know that failure is inevitable, that you're going to have to fail, you're going to experience rejection, because through that you grow and you learn and you're able to perform your role better. It just comes with the territory. I recently read that the famous comedian Kevin Hart was rejected by Hollywood producers for 19 years before he got his big break. That is a lot of time. 19 years he was just going at it, and in between his rejections he was just honing his craft. He was learning from the greats in comedy. He was doing all that he could to improve who he was as a comedian, and so when the right opportunity finally came around, he was ready for it. And so I just want to encourage you that when you are rejected, don't take it as a sign that you should stop doing what you're doing. You should take it as fuel and motivation for you to go forward and improve what you're doing, to enhance your knowledge and your skill set while you're waiting for the right role. And that's especially true for mums who are perhaps not able to go back to their previous role because it's not flexible enough for them, but they're looking for something else. If the right flexible role or part-time role doesn't come up for you straight away, use the time to really get clear on the type of role that you want and to build up your skill set to meet that role, so that when it comes about, you're prepared for it and you have gained the relevant experience and knowledge for the role that you're looking to fill. I just want to encourage you to just keep going. Even when you don't feel like it, keep going. And tip number 3 is to understand that this rejection has paved the way for something better. At the time that you applied for the role, it may have seemed like the perfect role for you, but getting a no to this role means that you'll be able and available to say yes to the next role, which may be a much better fit for you. So you may not see it now, but in the future, in hindsight, you'll be able to say, actually that role wasn't the right thing for me and this role was a lot better. So don't always look at it as a negative. Look at it as you having time and space to open yourself up for a role that is actually better suited for you. So to recap those for you, number 1 is don't take it personally. It's often not about you and it's more about the employer. Number 2 is to know that rejection is inevitable. You just have to keep on going so that you can get to where you want to be, because if you stop, you're absolutely not going to get there. And number 3 is to understand that this rejection may have paved the way for something better and more suitable for you. Okay, so those are the tips that I have for you for dealing with rejection, both in motherhood and in your career. I have taken the tips in relation to motherhood on board, and I'm feeling a lot better about my experience with my son, and I hope you can take them on board too, and that you can apply them to your current situation. So I would love to hear from you which one of those tips really resonated with you the most. So head over to the Facebook group at lightboxcoaching.com/community and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. The group is also a space for you to connect with other mums and people that are walking a similar road to you. So if you're looking for some support and if you're looking to build a network of lawyer mums who are just like you, then head over to the group. Before I bring this episode to a close, I just wanted to remind you about the How to Have Post-Baby Career Success webinar, which is taking place on Wednesday the 12th of October at 8 p.m. There is no denying that having a successful career whilst being a parent, especially a new mum, is a challenge. But there is lots that you can do to make your transition to being a working professional a smooth and enjoyable one. So I'll be sharing some useful information for you in the webinar. So once again, sign up at bit.ly/career after baby. I will put the links to everything mentioned in this episode in the show notes, which can be found at www.lightboxcoaching.com/episode 9. So that's all from me for today. So until next time, look after you, look after your babies, and sign up for the webinar. I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.